Hi, everyone. I have a fun book to share with you today. It's called Score One for the Sloths, and it's written by Helen Lester and illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. If you look at this cover picture, I bet you can make some predictions about what's going to happen with the sloths in this story. Let's get started. Ho-dee hum. It was another day at Sleepy Valley Sloth School, and all the sloths were just hanging around. Once in a while, their teacher would remember his job and wake up with a lesson. All right, he would drawl. Everyone yawn. Or keep those snores coming. Or all together, students, let's roll over. Most of the time, though, the class just slept. It was a sloth thing. They were content in their slothfulness. Occasionally, the principal would stop by and say with a chortle, "I don't mean to wake you, but I've never in my life seen such a lazy bunch of louts. Keep up the good whatever." And the sloths would smile in their slumber. Some great vocabulary words. The only movement of the day came at lunch hour. Actually, it was lunch 3 hours, when the sloths would amble around the slotheteria, taking a berry at a time, slowly chewing each one, ever so carefully. After all the exertion, it was nap time again. Then the students were off to study hall. And then it was time for recess. Recess looks a lot like the other times of the day, doesn't it? The dismissal bell rang at 3 o'clock. But it was dusk before the sloths left school, because no one wanted to get up to open the door. "Do I have to?" moaned one. "I did it last time," yawned another. "My leg hurts," mumbled a third. So everyone was happy to go back to sleep until 6 o'clock, when the custodian swept them out and they rolled home. One day, a new sloth came to school. She had just moved to the area, and her name was Sparky. What do you think Sparky's going to be like? Well, Sparky was perky. She was full of life and energy and vim and vigor and vitality. She was a mover and a shaker and a go-getter, and by mid-morning she was driving the other sloths crazy. "Let's read a story." "Hey, we could use a little music." "Want to build a castle?" "Anyone for math? How about some poetry?" What do you think those other sloths are thinking about Sparky right now? Well, the lazy sloths shook Sparky off, nudged her with their elbows, and shoved her away with their toes. Oh no. So poor Sparky sat in a corner fidgeting on her first day of school, feeling very unwelcome. Oh, look at Sparky, how she's feeling. Looks sad to me. "What a bunch of bores," she sighed to herself. What does she mean when she says they're a bunch of bores? Well, she thinks they're boring. They're not very interesting. Then she looked up, and there was a real boar at the door with a clipboard. What kind of boar is it talking about now? The animal that's a boar. From its outfit, it was clear it was a wild boar. Look at that crazy outfit with all the patterns. The boar announced, I am an official representative of SOS. That's the Society for Organizing Sameness. Wait till you hear what I know about you. It says here on my report that Sleepy Valley Sloth School is a disgrace to the entire mammal district. The wild boar was getting wound up now and began pacing wildly, shaking trees, whacking some sloths with the clipboard, and poking others with a pencil until everyone was awake. Yikes. Want to know your scores? Without waiting for an answer, the wild boar boomed on. Reading dreadful. Music the absolute worst. Block building zilcho. Math forget it. Poetry off below and way under the chart. Who is good at all of those things? Yeah, Sparky's already shows that she can do those things. Thus, I am here from SOS to close the school. The sloths gasped. Their school. Their happy, peaceful, slothful school. Oh no. They had to do something, but they weren't doers. They had never done anything. Only one sloth could help them now. The mover, the shaker, the go-getter. All eyes turned with hope to Sparky. You think she's going to help them? Sparky addressed the wild boar. You mentioned reading. Of course. She passed out the books, and the sloths, being unsure what books were, sandwiches, began munching. Reading, whispered Sparky. Not eating. She laid a book over each sloth. The sloths looked like they were reading. Pretty clever. Music? Sparky whipped her violin out of her knapsack and played Flight of the Bumblebee, while the other sloths snored. Very realistic. Their snores sound like bees. Block building. The sloths were well past their nap time, but they threw themselves into the task. Occasionally, a sloth in need of a quick snooze would get sandwiched, but that made the tower all the higher. By now, the sloths were thoroughly exhausted. Sparky pressed on. Math. What's 2 plus 2? The answer came in a groan. 4. Get it. Luckily, the wild boar heard only the 4 and not the get it, so he didn't get it. And the last subject you mentioned, said Sparky, was poetry. Off below and way under the chart. If you please, we will recite the way of the sloth. Of course, all sloths everywhere had been brought up with this poem. They'd known it since they were babies. They could recite it in their sleep, so they did. Can you imagine saying a poem in your sleep? The way of the sloth is gentle and kind. It hangs from the tree with nothing in mind. It doesn't make faces or throw fits or holler. It never gets heated under the collar. It's surely no bother, that's easy to see. It just hangs around, contented to be. That, stated the wild boar, was impressive, most impressive. Some nitwit must have confused your school with another. Sleepy Valley Sloth School is a credit to the entire mammal district. Sparky saves the day. Off stalked the wild boar with the clipboard, and everyone, especially Sparky, settled in for a peaceful, well-deserved, and very long nap. So those sloths were not very accepting of Sparky at the beginning. They didn't even get to know her before they made a decision about her, which is too bad because we need to get to know people before we can figure out if we're going to be friends with them. But luckily, Sparky decided she was going to help them, even though they hadn't been very welcoming to her. And if we think about the characters in this book, I'm wondering if we can relate to any of them, because I know there are some days when I get up and I feel like Sparky and I'm ready to go and I'm ready to get lots of things done. And then there are other days where I feel more like the sloths, where it's really hard to get motivated to do some of my work that I have to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I hope you were able to relate to some of the characters. And I hope we always remember to be kind and welcoming and appreciate everybody's strengths, because everybody has things that they're good at and everybody has things that they need some help with. And all those things were part of this story today. So I will see you again in another week. I hope you enjoyed Score One for the Sloths. Bye.